Okay, I got the notification. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. This is such an exciting occasion. My name is Nzinga Nomo. I'm the owner of Afriware Books Company. We've been in business since 1993, and we're proud to provide a platform for authors to share experiences that impact people of African heritage. Today, we have a very special program for you. We're going to be interviewing our esteemed guest, Dr. Nnedi Okorafor. But first, I'm going to take care of a few housekeeping details. And at around 5:30, we're going to pause and ask for your questions. So we have Sister Julie and Brother Jeffrey, who are going to be fielding your questions. Okay, I want to start with a huge thank you to her wonderful fans, because as some of you know, we had to take a pause. We had to break because we were expecting Nnedi to come by plane sooner than now. That was one big change that we had to adjust to. And then also the date of her book release was also adjusted by 1 week. So, you know, while yes, I'm a friend of Nnedi's, I'm also a fan. So, you know, I am experiencing the turmoil and angst of, you know, wanting to see her latest novel and then having to wait for it. So thank you for sticking with us through that. I want to encourage you to join our email list, which is where we have been communicating all of these changes. If you are not familiar, just go to afriwarebooks.com and you scroll to the bottom. There's a icon you can click on to join our email list. Okay, so we do have a special announcement. I do want to say that. We do have a very special announcement at the end of this event. So please stay tuned for that. Today's format, I'm going to introduce our guest. We're going to have that Q&A at 5:30. So please start, you can, you know, during any time during this session, you know, formulate your questions. However, we won't address them until around 5:30. And that will be done via chat only. We're actually taking taking notes from publishing houses who have advised that we should keep everyone on mute, okay, just to maintain our wonderful, the excellence that we all deserve. And again, Julie and Jeffrey are going to be screening those questions and reading them after the 5:30 period. Okay, so also today's event is being recorded. So keep that in mind. The goal is for me to upload that to YouTube on tomorrow morning, the 17th. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce our esteemed guest, Nnedi Okorafor, the Great, okay. Author of now 19 books total. She's gone from track star to paralyzed from the waist down to world-renowned author, which is absolutely amazing. She has not one, but 2 master's degrees, bachelor's degree, and PhD. She's the only author I know that releases a paperback first and then comes out with a hardcover. She is awards that span many pages. I'm going to highlight a few. The Hurston Wright Award, the Carl Soyinka Prize for Literature, the Brandon Parallax and Kindred Awards, World Fantasy Award, Triptych Honor Book, the, Locus Award for Best Young Adult Book, Hugo Award, and it goes on and on. And I'm going to ask Dr. Okorafor to please, if there's a specific award that I left out that you would like to highlight. I don't want you to be shy about it, not that you're shy. But please feel free to, stretch out where you want to. And also, of course, at the end, I want to make sure that you feel free to share any future announcements, that you're able to. So, okay, without further ado, please put your hands together in salute for Dr. Nnedi Okorafor. Everybody's like in the background. Yeah, I can hear them.
Some claps there. Cool.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for joining us. I have stacked up all these books, and I know her fans are appreciating this. To get to 19 titles is quite a fantastic feat. Okay, I just need a few more moments here.
I think you get the idea.
You get the idea. Okay, wait, let me get to at least the one for today. Yeah, this one just came out today, everyone. Noor, which is awesome, an awesome read. Your books are the type that upon reading that first paragraph, it reels you in to the point where you just can't put it down. And so I was thinking about how on Facebook you posted a few photos of the solar complex in Morocco. And I thought, wow, there's usually a the making of the movie kind of project that you can see sometimes. And I thought, well, what about the making of the book? What about, what's the story there, the inspiration for writing this book?
Yeah, oh my God, there's so much because like, and it's kind of similar to all of my books where the inspiration comes from many different sources. Who Fears Death was one specific one, but Noor, gosh, okay. So one of them was, okay, so the Noor really started, it was yet another one of those novels that I wrote where I had no idea that I was going to write it until I started writing it. Like literally, I walked out of the airport in Lagos, and I was there for the Appt Festival of the Arts, and I walked out of the airport after going through the gauntlet of getting out of the airport, because that airport is treacherous. But like, I walked out of the airport and literally, boom, the book hit me. Like it was just like that. It was like I wasn't writing a novel, then suddenly I was. Like I walked out and I had the first scene of this story that I didn't know what it was, but it was the first scene and I knew the character. Like it was that sudden. It was so sudden that and so strong that I remember standing there. I was like, oh no. That was the first thing I thought was, oh no, because at the time I wasn't really. I had, I just wanted to take a break. I wanted to take a break, and when these kind of stories hit me, I can't take a break. I have to work on them. Like I have to get them out of my head because they will nag me until I get them out of my head. So I walked out of the airport. I knew the first scene, and the first scene is still the first scene in the book. And I sat down and I was waiting for my ride, and I wrote the first two paragraphs of it, like literally sitting right outside and waiting, t- taking in the air of Lagos and the atmosphere. I was still shaken by going through everything to get there, and wrote those first two paragraphs. And then when I got to my hotel room and everything calmed down, I wrote that page. And from that point on, I kept just gradually writing it because I was working on a lot of different things at the time. It was just gradual. I kept coming back to it, kept coming back to it. And so that was the beginning of it. And then I was writing it. I was like deep in writing it. And then my daughter and I took that trip to Morocco where we were in Ouarzazate, which is like, it's like where a lot of, I think Lawrence of Arabia, Star Wars, like a whole bunch of Gladiator, whole bunch of films like are filmed in that area. There's a film studio out in the desert, and it's amazing, and you can see all the sets. It was crazy. And The Mummy was another one. And so that's what that place is known for. But we were there to see the solar complex, which is the Noor solar complex. I was writing another, like this journalistic piece on, how did I put it? On the idea that saving the world will come from Africa's deserts. That was my thesis. So we were there, and the Noor Solar Complex is the biggest solar farm in the world, and we were there to see it. Like we got the chance to see it. They don't give tours to people, and we had the chance to get a whole tour of the place. So we were there, and of course, anytime I go to a place like that, anytime I go to a place that's like just technological and magical at the same time, you've got all of these mirrors that are all turning the sun towards one tower. Like it was stunning. It was stunning. You could, if you Google it, you can see pictures of this place. It was just amazing. And so I was doing research for that article. But of course, I go to a place like that. I'm in the middle of writing a novel. It's going to make it into my novel. And so, like a lot of the ideas, this idea of the future of the world, the future of humanity being in Africa's deserts came from going there. Because on that trip, also we were able to go into the Sahara Desert on a camel, and in the middle of the day, because I wanted to see what it felt like. I wanted to know what it felt like, and we were like right on the border of Algeria, and it was hot. It was hot. It was hot. But I love deserts, and it just fed everything in me. So that all, that fueled the novel as well. And then on top of that, we've got a main character who she's part machine. She's a human being, but she was born with these disabilities, since she was in this additional really bad car accident, all these things. And then she just takes control of her destiny, and she chooses to get these body augmentations. And she's just like, she's very unapologetic about it. And so like, we've got a character who faces what she is, and faces like who she is and her own destiny, all of that. Those are ideas from deep within me, with my own disability and my own dealings with things that have happened to me, where I could have easily turned in the darker direction, but instead turned this way. So it's like those themes are also woven into the narrative. So Noor came from a lot of different things.
So my goodness, now now you're living in the desert, but you were not when you wrote this. How long ago did you write? Did you start it though? This was recent.
Yeah. I started writing it. It's been, oh boy, it might have been 2017. I think it was 2017 when I started writing it. But I've always been obsessed with deserts. So like even between 2017 and now, I've been to different deserts. Like I've been to the deserts in the UAE. I've been to, and then Morocco, and then of course here in Phoenix. Like I'm just attracted to deserts, and then of course the Grand Canyon. That as well. But like, so yeah, we moved here in February, and oh, that's another thing. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, so I had been writing Noor since 2017, but when lockdown happened, lockdown allowed me. There were both Akata Woman, my forthcoming my forthcoming novel, A Kata Woman, and Noor. These were things where if lockdown hadn't happened, they would have taken me a lot longer. That
Mm.
lockdown, like I'm the kind of writer who, when I was traveling a lot right before it happened, and as soon as I was forced to stay in one place, I was ready to like spill onto I was like so primed to just get all of this out because I'd been moving around so much and I needed a break at the time, right at the beginning of when lockdown happened. I remember
Oh, wow.
the last trip I had taken was to Nigeria for the Ake festival, and I remember thinking at the end of that trip, I was like, I need to slow down, and I didn't know how because I love traveling so much, and every chance I got, I would do it. So I didn't know how I was gonna do it, and then that happened. So yeah, so like finishing Noor happened because of lockdown. It did,
Mm.
that definitely allowed
That
for me.
expedited the whole writing
Definitely,
process.
definitely,
And I'm sure that that visit to Noor just inspired just a burst
very much.
of creative energy. It
Yeah,
is absolutely a fantastic read, as all of your books are, because I just, it's like you start them, but they're so delicious, as you're going through them, time stops. You just don't care about the world until you finish it. And so that's what happened when I, first read it. But then now rereading it to prepare, there's little things, that I see. And that reminded me to bring out that your work is so, while it's layered, it's also textured, because it seems like you focus on the elements, like it's like almost you pick a certain element to exploit, if you will, to really just build out as a character, like the Book of Phoenix and the fire. And this one, the earth, I mean, was just so heavily built out. Is that how you focus? How do you decide that piece of of your writing?
yeah. There are things that I'm obsessed with, and it's
Mm.
like it's not just obsessed though. I have to get close to it. If I've been close to it where I can touch it and sift it in my hand, like the closer I can get to something, the more that I write like that, and that obsession. Because like with Lagoon, it was getting close to the water and being in the water, and
Yes.
like I remember Lagoon was that trip to Trinidad and being in the
Oh,
water and being
yeah.
in the water and like really being close to it and feeling at one, like being one with it and moving with it. I remember that was that closeness for Lagoon. Book of Phoenix, yeah, there was an obsession with fire and burn things. Like I
Yes. Yes.
remember, and and like I remember looking at the edge, the end, the sticks of incense when incense burns all the way to the stick, and watching it burn and just being
Mm.
fascinated by that and just watching it really close. So when I get close, and so when it comes to like with Noor, of course it was the desert. Like I was especially in Warzazat, where like the first thing I did when we got there, before we got on the camels, it was so hot that I thought the bottoms of my shoes were going to melt, and they did start getting they did start melting because I was wearing gym shoes. I remember that, and one of the first things I did was touch the sand. I wanted to see how it felt in my hands, and I like to see how things smell as well. Like get that close,
Yeah.
and then also that moment where I stop and listen, just listen and stop and just be there, so like all of that goes into, and there are times in the book, even though I'm sure I edited a lot of them out or pared them down, where I kind of went into that a lot. That those moments of stillness and being close, because I enjoy writing those moments. I enjoy them sometimes too much. So when I go into editing, I go in and take them out because they can really slow things down. But those moments are really fun for me to write because I just love that closeness to
Oh,
the elements in particular. Yeah.
like we love that too, I'm sure. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. We love that too. And it's so interesting sometimes. I think I've shared this with you that you somehow managed to, um, there's a moment that I'll call caught you looking, where we're you're so deep into your book that you forget where you are. You think you're there with the character, but then it's like, you know, that moment where we're so engrossed, and then it's like you say psych your mind or something like that, where you pop out in the text, and you're like, caught you looking, or caught you, I caught you in a trance, and that to me is the mark of such a masterful storyteller, and just makes me laugh out loud. It's like, how did she know? How did she know that
Because I'm
I
a
was
reader
here?
too. I'm a reader as much as I am a writer. And even before I was a writer, one of the things that I loved most about reading is that, like that trance where
Yeah.
everything around you falls away and you are gone and you are 100% in the book. I
Yeah.
love that. It's the most intoxicating thing about reading when it's achieved. It's just such a beautiful thing, and that's something that, like, because I know that feeling really well, it's something that I really hope to accomplish when I'm writing. But also I know that it's a moment of vulnerability, because you're in
Mhm.
it. So like,
Yeah.
those moments when you're in, I can easily just do something. Just do something. So yeah, those are
Right.
like, that is like my thing. Yeah, yeah, definitely
I
so.
mean, that is definitely your superpower. It's like, I wish it could be measured. Some books, if there were a specific measurement of how long it took to get the reader into a trance, you would win every single time, because you get us from the first paragraph,
Awesome.
in my opinion, And may I just add a hello to Periwinkle and Neptune.
Yes, who are running around right now together. They're running around right now. That's why it's amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. I saw your latest post. They're getting along.
Getting along.
That's great. That's great.
It's a beautiful thing.
So okay, we're approaching our 5:30 time, and I want to just remind everyone that you're in on this fun too, and we want you to start formulating your questions for our guests. I want to make sure that I have um, mentioned at least some of the things that I wanted to before we break for that point. Oh yeah, I wanted to say this to everyone. So right now, you are still able to get a signed copy of Noor if you order by tomorrow. That's going to be the absolute cutoff date, because I want to make sure that we don't run into next week's holiday and whatever can happen there. So make sure to, if you want the signed copy of just this book alone. Now, unfortunately, the date has passed to get her other books signed as well. There are some of you that did make that cut off, but now we're just going to focus. We decided to just focus on the latest book, Noor, which you can still get signed if you purchase by tomorrow. But of course, Nnedi and I are not going to meet up until the end of the month. And that is why you won't get your book until like in the December timeframe. So if it's scheduled as a gift, you might want to, I don't know, add a few words about that. So that's a
And thanks
little.
Southwest Airlines for the delay. Southwest Airlines.
Is there a book? Do I hear a book coming?
Wouldn't be
like LaGuardia. Oh goodness.
You never know.
Right, watch out, Southwest.
Right. Do better. Do better.
So, okay, I think now is probably a good time. And if I have additional questions, I'll just weave them in. I'll share. I'll share. So I'll ask Jeff or Julie if there are any questions at this time.
No questions yet that I've seen.
Not yet, okay. Okay, so if not, then I'll ask another question about this upcoming Akata woman coming up in, I think it's the 22nd of January.
Something like that.
So that's the third. Wow. Is that the final, or can you say?
It's not, I just don't know when. So like, I'm focusing on the fact that I just finished this one. Let's just focus on that.
Okay.
It took so much to finish it. Like, it's not short. That one was not short. And yeah, so, but I don't think it's not done. I just don't know when I'll get back. And there's some factors because there's some factors that I can't announce. So,
Okay, understood. Understood. I did hear shifting a bit to like a Black Panther. Oh, here we go. You made an announcement about doing the forward to the Black Panther collection coming up.
Yeah, I wrote the forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I think that's June, everybody.
Not for a while.
Yeah, it's for a while, but you can pre-order on Afriware's site because we're keeping up with you, Nnedi,
Well done.
with all of your 19 books. It's absolutely amazing, how
Yeah,
you
I still can't believe that.
can come out.
I had to count multiple times and I kept leaving things out. I was like, oh no, okay, now I gotta add this. Oh, I forgot this. There were so many. I couldn't believe it was 19. I was like, yeah, that's a lot.
And then not to mention that the covers, your first cover of Akata Witch, the transformation there, you have to have both like editions because
That's true.
I wish, let's see, do I have, well, the first one, and I don't have Akata Witch. I don't have this newest version, but yeah, this is the Akata. Oh, look, everyone. Okay.
Where's Neptune?
Periwinkle.
Somewhere.
Oh, what did I do with my, okay, there we go.
I have a question, a couple of questions. Well, one question, one comment has come through.
Oh, okay, beautiful. Please share.
Yarrow Rugen has asked, she would love to hear, about the process that Nnedi uses when working with the artist for the cover art. Ironic that you just showed.
Oh yeah, that I can speak to. Okay, so and Zinga showed, yeah, that one. So that's those covers, this one and then the other one that looks similar. All the like Akata Witch, the paperback, Akata Warrior. I'm trying to remember. Who Fears Death, the 10th anniversary edition of Who Fears Death, Book of Phoenix, Remote Control, and Noor. Those are all the same artist, and his name is Greg Ruth, and he's amazing. And Greg has been like, first of all, he's amazing. His work is amazing. He's an amazing artist, and we've been working like whenever each of these covers, like for each of these covers, we sit and talk it through. He's like, tell me about this character. Tell me about everything you know about this character. Give me some pictures, and we have like a whole conversation about the character, about who she is, what does she want, all of that. And then I send images. So a lot of times I'll send images of what I think she should look like. And so it's like a back and forth. It's usually a lot of back and forth. And then he draws her. And so these images, they're not just an artist trying so that he doesn't knock over they're not just, okay. Wow. They're not just the usual way where how it's been in the past where, the the artist typically reads the book, and sometimes not for some people, but like reads the book and then draws the character, and then you kind of have some notes on it. But this is more, even before he draws anything, we have like a whole conversation where, you know, I let him know exactly who this character is and what she looks like. So and what really, when I demanded, because at the he was doing a lot of my foreign editions, and then with the Akata books, it was when he drew the first one for Akata Witch, you know, because they wanted to change the cover. When he drew her, I'm like, I want to do every single one of my, all of my books from this point on, because he drew, you know, the main character of the Akata the Nsibidi Scripts series. She's Nigerian, she's Igbo, and she has albinism, and that's hard to draw. And that's been like where every time artists have drawn her before that, she doesn't quite. It's just hard for them to peg her down, and he did. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, he can draw this Igbo girl who, you know, this Igbo girl with albinism. He can do that. I want to see him do my other characters, and he's just, I don't know, he's just able to do that. He's just really amazing.
Well, and you are amazing because you have long been a trailblazer in insisting upon having images that are reflective of African people on the cover. That is such a big deal, although now it is much more commonplace. Yes.
From the very first book, Zara the Windseeker, when nobody knew who I was. Look at every single one of my novels. I've never been afraid, and that's like even the second edition of it. The very first.
Oh, that's right.
Very first one, I remember that was published in 2005, when it was still like, there was still that belief that if you put a person of color on your cover, it wouldn't sell, like by definition. So, you know, I deserve some credit for that, because
Oh yeah, I tell you.
Andrea Pinkney was my editor, and she insisted on that too, because like that was important. That was very, very important to us, and we were, you know, these were like speculative fiction stories. This was a young adult book, and all of them have these black girls on the cover that are like, and black boy, that's Ikenga, where it's unapologetic, and we were just like, you have to see her, you have to see her.
Thank you.
That was a big, back in 2005, that was tough to do. Like, look at the books in 2005 and see if you can find any black peoples or people of color on book covers. It was rare. So yeah, just need to say that.
It is so commendable. I just, every moment I can get a chance to commend you for that, I take it, because, you know, while of course you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, we do. You know, that's your first introduction, and that is what will get your attention. And you know, when I was preparing, I heard you in an interview saying that's actually part of what solidified your course as a writer, when you saw Octavia Butler's book. The cover of her book had a black female on it.
Yeah, it was Wild Seed. It was like, that was what made me pick up Octavia in the first place. I had never heard of it. This was in 2000, and they had her. I was in the Michigan State bookstore. It was like a Barnes and Noble around in East Lansing, where it was at Michigan State University, and they had a copy of it in the science fiction and fantasy section, and it was facing out. And I'd never seen, except for Nalo Hopkinson's Midnight Robber, the cover of that. I hadn't seen a black person on the cover of a book in that section before. And I bought it because of that. Just because of that. That was how I was able to discover Octavia's work. You know, I still think about that. That was just really pivotal for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the back room fights, debates that you had to have to keep that great thing going. As a bookseller, okay, that helps sell the books, and it just you know, it has an affirming effect on the psyche as a person, who is oppressed in this society, to see a depiction of us in a positive light is just like revolutionary. Okay, it shouldn't be, but it is. It is.
Let me give you Allison Champion's comment. She says, I would love to hear anything Dr. Okorafor has to say. Thrilled about both Noor and the third Akata book. Thanks. I too am thrilled about the third Akata book. We just had a whole, and Zing and I had a whole Nnedi Okorafor bibliography rundown review yesterday. She didn't realize I was gushing about many of them.
Oh, I meant to ask, did you want to read from, okay.
Scared? I don't know. I'm just not ready. I'm not ready.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Next time.
It's awesome. It's, take our word for it. No, it's absolutely awesome. It's awesome. Okay, next question, please.
Are there any more? I think.
So we got to thank you for offering the adorned books via Afriware.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for giving books a new life. Okay, because at one point as a bookseller is like, oh no, it's Kindle. What do we do? Is anybody going to buy a book again? And I think it was shortly after that, maybe a year into that, you were like, oh, I'll just adorn some books. And I mean, people came out of the woodwork to get your books. And it just makes them a keepsake and just so extra special, to see.
Yeah, I love the way it looks. Like, I love the way, because I've done it to other books, not just mine.
Oh, okay.
I think it was, I did it to one of N.K. Jemison's books that I had. Like, I had an advanced copy, and that thing is just completely, all of the, the whole thing is just glorified. Let's just put it that way. And it's mine, and I'm never giving it to anyone. It's mine. But yeah.
Yeah, everybody's different. I write all in my books. I should adorn them, I guess, but
yeah, I mean,
I write all over my books.
I'm one of those people who, yes, books are sacred, but books are meant to be read too. They're, even when I draw on them, I still will read them. And yeah, I know this might aggravate some people.
Right.
It's a thing, but I don't use bookmarks.
Oh, what? Oh no.
Fold the edge of the page. I fold the edge of the page.
Oh, I do that too, yeah.
Yeah, but some people find that like blasphemy.
I know. Some people only get hardcovers, without any nicks on them, and everybody's different. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I saw another question.
Yeah, I see it. I can read it.
Yes. Any hints as to what project required a trip to the gun range for research? That's from Amma.
Hi, Amma. I can't see. Hi. Not necessarily. Okay, so it wasn't okay. All right. So here's the story. We're in Phoenix and stuff, right? So we were driving. I was with my daughter, and my daughter. For those of you who don't know, my daughter's 18, and we were driving to a furniture store, and we keep passing this indoor gun range, and I am one who experiences, as you've kind of gotten from this whole thing, experiences bolster my work, and I'd always wanted to know what it felt like to fire, to shoot a firearm, because we write about them and we read about them, and I don't really know any real details about at all, and I feel like it's a hole in my knowledge. I always felt like there's a hole in my, especially being in the United States, which has its issues with firearms, and understanding them is a good way of understanding aspects of American culture, definitely. And I've learned that since. So we've been driving past this gun range, and then one day I was just like, let's go in there. And we went in there, and to make a long story short, ended up signing up for private lessons, and I felt what it felt like to to shoot a gun, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely, I was shaking. My daughter was chill, which is something, but I was shaking the whole time. There's a man who was like, there was a man next to me who was firing an assault rifle. Huge gun. It was extremely loud. I've never even seen an assault rifle before, but and I kept thinking, why are you shooting? Like, why do you have to do that? Like, why do you even have to do that? And he was really enjoying himself, and he just felt, I don't know, maybe there's something to it, but like, I learned, first of all, like I said, I like to feel things. I like to feel like that tactical, and like, there's certain aspects to an experience that you can only get from description, but like the smell of it, the smell of like right after you shoot a gun, the fact that the shells like fly out like that, there was so much I didn't know. I learned a lot. So I mean, to answer your question, it's not for a particular project, but I don't write that way. I rarely do specific research. It's usually the research or the experience that precedes me writing about it. Because like I'm very chaotic in the way that I work. It's rarely organized. So it's usually, I do things backwards a lot. So me just going there, it's definitely going to end up in something I'm writing. Definitely. I just don't know what it is yet, but I have no doubt that it's going to end up in something that I'm writing.
We look forward to that. And I'm gonna ask this. That does inspire a question. So I saw the word pandemic in this Noor book. Of course, I have to know, did you write those words prior to the pandemic?
I wrote those words in the pandemic.
Okay.
It's in the middle of like pandemic.
It's so appropriate. So appropriate.
Yeah, it's hard writing like speculating into the future during the pandemic. It was hard because things were so unpredictable. Like you didn't know, because there were definitely moments during the pandemic where I'm like, okay, we're gonna end up in parable of the sower now. This is when it happens. This is when this is when it all breaks down. This is where so it's like writing in the middle of that, you feel like if you write, there are all these paths that the future can go. And if you write down this path and then the future, like the present goes down that path, it's weird. It's just, so it was really difficult, but yeah, it was, there was so much that I was working on narratively that like, I could not, like all of the things I was working on at the time definitely were affected by the pandemic. They could not, even Akata Woman was definitely affected by the pandemic, all of it. So it was impossible. It's not possible. Like I don't know too many writers who could say that whatever they were writing was not affected by what was going on around them. Because of course, there were the writers who couldn't write at all because it was just too much. But those of us who were writing, we were definitely affected by what was going on around us. I don't know how you couldn't be.
Certainly. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Let's go back to the questions here.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
This hello, Nnedi, is that the next one?
That's the last one.
Oh, when do you know if there's a sequel to one of your books? Is there more to Sankofa's story?
I don't like the only one that I've known, and this includes the Binti trilogy. I did not know there would be more. Like I didn't know that I would write those novellas. Each time I wrote one, I didn't know the next one was coming. I knew the world was big and it was interesting to me, but I didn't know that I was going to sit down and write something. Did not know that. But the only one where I have known is the Insibidi Scripts series. that one I've known, like from the first book, I knew it was a series. I'm like, oh, I've just started my first series. And I'm not a series person. I like standalones. So
Mm.
like for me to know that, it was definite. Like I knew, even though I had to with Akata Witch, the ending of that had to be the way it was because at the time, that kind of narrative, this was 2011, I think. I might be wrong, but like I think it was 2011, um, where I might be wrong with that, but that kind of novel was still a risk to publishers. Like now, that has changed completely. So writing that kind of narrative, publishers are like, oh, let's see it. Oh my gosh, yeah, this might do well. But back then, no. So
Mhm.
when I wrote it, my publisher and my editor were like, we don't, this is still a risk, and that word was used. This is still a risk. So let's just have it be a standalone. So end it like this. It's a standalone. And it didn't, I remember all the reviews that came out for Akata Witch, and they were always great, except for the ending. And it was infuriating for me because I'm like, I know why it ended abruptly. It ended because that's not the, it was so frustrating to me. But
Wow.
it wasn't like there was no way because I knew it was not the end of the book. So
Mhm.
that one I knew. I know that like at some point my publisher tried to pin me down for when the book two, Akata Warrior, would come out, and I remember resisting because I don't like. I'm the strong like I'm very disciplined. I don't need any more pressure. Like when it comes to hitting deadlines, I just you don't need to give me a deadline. But I remember them trying to pin me down and feeling frustrated. I'm like, I don't want the pressure. Stop. But I
Mhm.
eventually wrote that, so I knew that there was going to be a part three. That's how I know that this Akata Woman is not the last one. I'd love to say it's a trilogy, but it's not. It's not. I just don't know when I'm gonna write it. As far as remote control, I don't know. That one I don't know. That one I don't know. I could see more in that world. There. I can say this: remote control has been optioned. I'll say that. I can't say who it's
Ooh.
optioned. And
Oh,
when something is
we
optioned, you
heard it
can't
first.
really
We heard it first here. Yeah.
long enough. I mean, it was optioned like last year.
Oh, was it? Okay, I missed it.
I can't say who, but
Okay,
it's
okay.
no, it's someone that you know. But like, it's because of that, it's gonna grow. Like, that's why I hesitate with doing more. Like, Binti has already been optioned. That's been out. But like, there are certain things. Once something's been optioned and it gets start getting developed, and that puts ideas. When it's done well, when it's developed well, I get ideas. So like that's why I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to say like, oh, am I gonna do more? I don't know. I need, this needs to happen because there's a having something adapted is a sort of sequel. It's a sequel because it's more, it's growing, so that affects the way things go. So,
Wow.
yeah, if that makes sense, it's weird.
Wow. See, I was just gonna, that made me want to ask you, now that you've had a few optioned, how does that affect your writing going forward? Are you kind of always now keeping that in mind, the possibility?
Yeah, but not so much for the show. It's like with Binti, the trilogy has an additional short story in there, a novelette, I think it's called. Um, that's called Sacred Fire.
Yes, yes.
I wrote Sacred Fire because I was writing the pilot. I was co-writing the pilot for the Binti TV series, and in discussing it and growing her story and all of that, there were aspects that I realized I wanted to explore, and that was where that short story came from. So I went and wrote the short story. So it's like that. It's just kind of dwelling in these worlds that I've already created because like when you're
Mhm.
adapting something, it's not only about story like the episode, it's also about the pitch, and then the bible you get all the character description, so you have to explore all the characters and like every side of them in ways that I did not do when I wrote the books. So there's
Mhm.
characters like Binti's sisters, for example, where I got to explore every side of them now. And so I get to know, and so now I know more, and the world gets bigger and richer. And next thing you know, more stories are coming. So it's like, it's like, so
We
yeah.
love we love that part. We love that part. It's like I'm ready for this one. I'm ready for like all of them. The field guide, we just want to totally geek out, like people do with Star Wars, and I want to just wear the whole get up.
Yes, there's so much, Zara.
We need that. We need that. Okay, let's see. There's no more questions there, and we are at 5:54. I think maybe it's a good time to pause a bit and talk about this special announcement. So just to recap those who may have come a little bit late, it's not too late to get a signed copy of Noor because of the special arrangements we have figured out. You have until tomorrow, I'll say midnight, to purchase a copy of this book. Now, the special announcement is that Nnedi has agreed to adorn a certain number of these books. Adornment basically means her expert doodling and artwork will be on the edges. I don't know, I don't have any
Yeah, mine's upstairs.
I don't have any pictures, but what I'll do, okay, so the link is not ready yet for you to purchase. There's only going to be 10 available. They are going to be a bit pricey, I'll tell you that right now, right? Because it's the Nnedi. It's the Nnedi, but they're going to be a bit pricey, but only 10 will be available, and they will only be available to those who have already purchased the signed copy. Okay, so I'm going to still encourage you to sign up for the email list so that you can get the communication of when the link is revealed. It will likely be on Friday. Okay, it will likely be on Friday to get the 10. We wish there were more, but they do take time. She really wish we had a picture, but they're absolutely collector's items, and she'll date them, and each one is extremely unique. Anything else you want to say about the adornment process?
Only that they take a while.
Yeah, they do.
So
They-
doing even 10, I'm a little
Yeah,
like,
she can't delegate that. Okay. She can't delegate that. That's all her. And maybe one day she'll do an NFT or something. We have to figure that part out. So, okay. Oh, here's a question. Kabu Kabu as a short movie and or wait, maybe I missed. Oh no, I didn't.
novel.
Is Kabu Kabu a short movie? Is it going to be a short movie or a graphic novel? Or maybe they want to see it as a short.
Yeah. That would be cool, but there are like I have several things in development, and there has been interest in Kabu Kabu. Yeah, there has been film interest in it.
Oh, okay.
There has been film interest in Kabu Kabu. But one thing at a time. That's all.
Okay.
One
You
thing.
are in this state of efflorescence that I just love. It's just continual bloom, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch and support and geek out over and just celebrate. We are in celebration of you, no matter what else is crazy. I know there's some crazy folks in the comment section sometimes.
Yeah.
Please know that there is a strong like mountain range of people that are just always cheering you on. Always.
Thank you. Seriously.
Okay, somebody is very happy about the adornment. Thanks for offering that as an option. They purchased their signed copy. Um, was that you? Oh, somebody's showing their muscles.
To work those right after this.
Did I forget anything? Thank you. By the way, co-producers Jeff Johnson and Julie Parker. Julie and Jeff, I met at Akiba bookstore at Trinity United Church of Christ when we were we were co-managing the bookstore there, and we invited Nnedi to come. And Trinity loves you as well, as you know. So let's see, I don't see any more questions. We have reached the 6 o'clock time, and we want to be respectful of your time. So thankful that you carved out a moment during the release of this book, which is fire. I loved it. I encourage everybody to grab it. You will not be disappointed. Any closing? You gave us a lot. You had some really nice nuggets there.
Just hope that everyone, I hope that people enjoy the book. It's quite a ride. And I will say, like, I don't want to, I know the more I talk, the more I end up spoiling something, but you got to get to the last line of the book.
Oh my gosh. You are you had me totally fooled. Totally fooled. Oh, yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey, everyone.
I have
Buckle your seatbelt. Oh,
one quick question.
Yes.
This is my own. Any more graphic animated novels coming out?
Yes, Space Cat. The Space Cat.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that one. But that one's gonna take a little bit because it's like, okay, so the Space Cat is this. It's a graphic novel that's based on my cat, Periwinkle Chupu, and it's more than that though. It's a lot. The premise is basically, he's my cat. I am in the graphic novel, and one day, one day I pick up my daughter and my cat, and we go to Nigeria to live for a few months, and he comes with. And Nigeria does not like cats, and adventures ensue. And this is going to be the Space Cat is going to be different from even LaGuardia, which LaGuardia, yeah, LaGuardia is special to me. That is a very special story. But like Anna and I did LaGuardia while I was writing for Marvel. Like I was doing LaGuardia at the same time as I was writing Shuri. I don't know how I did that to this day. I don't know, but I did it. And so the Space Cat, we're taking our time with it. We're spreading out, and it's a far more collaborative process where it's going to be the artwork is going to be beautiful. I've seen some of it already, and it's going to be big. It's going to be like a thick.
Oh, something to sink our eye teeth into. Are you able to announce the illustrator?
Oh yes, Tana. The illustrator is Tana, who illustrated LaGuardia as well. We're basically a team. We're definitely a team, and with each project, we become more and more of a team. We've worked on Marvel stuff together, then we did LaGuardia, then now we're doing the Space Cat. So yeah, it's Tana. She's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much again, everyone, for your support. I encourage you to, even if you're not ready to purchase, please sign up for our email list at afriwarebooks.com. Just scroll to the bottom, and there's an icon to click to sign up, and then you'll be informed of all the special announcements that are coming up. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Julie. Oh, there's Julie. And thank you, Dr. Okorafor.
Pleasure. Thanks everyone for coming.